Hello, citizens of YouTube. This is the Geeky Nerd here, and today we're going to be talking about the ultimate LPVO, in my opinion, to pair with the ultimate AR-15, the Trijicon TR25 1:6x24, specifically the triangle post, green triangle post, aka Triangle of Death. With that said, I'd like to say a big thank you out to everyone who has liked, commented, and subscribed. Always appreciate it and always enjoyed talking to you guys. But if you're new here to the channel, welcome. And if you enjoy this video, enjoy this type of content, please consider liking, commenting, or subscribing. And with the PR out the way, let's talk about the best scope that you can get for the money, in my humble opinion. So, this scope, it goes on my ultimate AR-15 build, which you can check that out here on the channel, where no expenses are spared for building an AR. Adult-sized Legos, am I right, guys? But this optic is, bar none, one of the best that I could think of for the situation that I'm going to be using it for, and that's anything from CQB, 25 yards and in, all the way extended out to about 400 yards. That's pretty much my operating distance, so what I would put this scope for. Can go a bit farther, but I'll explain a bit farther here in a second. Now, it does come in a very nice box, and it comes with a very nice lens pen that you do want to use, because you don't want to just take your t-shirt and rub on this glass, because being that this is a $1,000-ish optic, you don't want to mess that up. Now, it does come with the with this very nice Trijicon cover, kind of keeps it from nicks and dings. This I paid for $900 on the 4th of July Memorial Day sale, so prices do fluctuate, and I've seen these go for up to about $1,200 depending on where you get it from. Make sure you get a reputable seller, because you don't want some like a secondhand Chinesium knockoff. Taking off the cover, slips right off, and you see there this optic in all its glory. Now, it does not come with the mount. The mount is my American Defense Recon 30mm QD mount. One of the best mounts in my opinion, but I digress. We're talking about the optic here. So looking at it, the overall build quality is fantastic. Trijicon, as we know, has legendary reliability, battle-proven optics, and just generally some of the best that you can get. Now, they are American-based. This is not made in the States. This is made in Japan. But for a U.S.-made optic, you're going to look about 3 times this. You're looking about $3,000. And the amount better that it's going to get from that diminishes past this point. You know, you have crappy like $100 optics, but the jump from $100 to a $500 optic is very noticeable and significant. The jump from a $500 to a $1,000 optic is noticeable, but not mind-blowing. The jump from $1,000 to a $3,000 optic is minute at best, and are you accurate enough or are you skilled enough to make that difference is going to be up to you. So this, I think, is the very top of what you get, to where you're getting all the bells and whistles, but none of the extra panache that some of the higher end optics are going to afford, but you're not going to miss anything. So talking about this optic in particular, you can see the overall build quality. It is a heavy scope, or at least heavy what I'm used to, but you're getting some thicker sidewalls, and the glass is thicker, so it is going to withstand some bumps, bangs, and bruises. This is, of course, nitrogen purged and drop tested, and so on and so forth. Everything, again, you expect from Trijicon. You can see the Trijicon AccuPoint 1:6x24. And I'll explain why I like the 1:6x24 over the TR24, the 1:4x24, because there is a very noticeable difference between the two when you look in person. But the turrets here, they have very nice knurling on there. You can see it does have a reset. The click is audible, is tactile. One thing I will say, though, is that and it doesn't really have that much movement at all. You can't feel a little tiny bit of movement. But there's 2 different types of clicks you get from optics, and one is a plasticky feel, one is a metallic feel. This one is 100% a plastic feel. It feels plasticky, but not like a chintzy plastic, if that makes sense, guys. It's noticeable. Nothing wrong with it, but it feels plastic. It doesn't feel like metal, which I'm sure is probably a good thing. Probably gives a little bit more flexibility when you're adjusting. You pull up on it to where you can reset back to 0. I have not zeroed this optic yet, so no biggie, no concern there. Threading it back on, it threads back on very nicely. One thing I hate, especially on cheaper optics, is when you go to throw these on, you got to be just right, because the threads aren't machined on correctly, to where as soon as you try to start going, it just doesn't want to go on. This one goes on flawlessly. Looking around the top here on the throw lever, It does go 180 degrees, so you do have full adjustment. So from 1 all the way to 6, you are making a 180 degree motion. So that is kind of just a nice little feature. You know that when you're at the halfway, you're about 2.5 or 2-ish, I would say. One thing I do wish that they would kind of do, again, this is just my nitpick. If I was to say anything bad about this optic, I wish that they would have the 3 be kind of the midway point. So if 3 was, dead center, that way I know that, okay, this is 6, this is 1, and then midway between that would be 3, perfectly standing up. That's my only thing that I would like, but I kind of understand, because from here, you go from a 1, 1.5 to 2. That's kind of where you're going to be living at. And then when you want to extend out here, you got to make a purposeful way to do it. So it's the only thing I would say room for improvement. You can't put a larger throw lever on here. I don't really see a point in it. You get plenty of grip with this. I mean, you can't get a big old honking wonder wrench on there, but not needed in my opinion. Adjustment, it is firm, but it is not stiff. You don't really have to wrench on it. I mean, you take your pinky and move it, but it does require a deliberate action, so you're not going to bump this. So putting just the minute amount of pressure, you can see it will move just a bit, but you've really got to make a purposeful action to adjust it, which is nice. Ring is very large, so you can't grip over there. I just like to throw a lever more than anything. Looking up here, you're probably saying, what the heck, Geekin, or what is this crazy looking thing? Well, first of all, it does have the Trijicon logo in here. Yes, I know. That bothered me at first when I was like, oh man, is that perfectly lined up? So I just kind of line it up just just try to get it straight. This is me though. Again, a little tiny nitpick is that you see when it is pretty much perfectly parallel, you are cutting off just the slightest little bit. I wish that logo was perfectly lined up when it was at 100%. Again, little nitpick. Does it affect the performance? Hell no. But this is actually for the tritium, because this optic does not have batteries. It is etched, but it does not have batteries, and it does have illumination. How does that occur? One is with the fiber optic, and I'm probably just calling this tritium, sorry, fiber optic inserts, which you can see collect up here, run down the tube, run into the base of the optic. Secondly, it has tritium in here. Tritium, for those of you guys that don't know, is a self-illuminating radioactive material that basically gives off light. Now, it is radioactive, but it is not harmful to you in any way, shape, or form. It is blocked by glass. You see it in watches, things like that. It is not like the radioactive like you're thinking. I've heard some people say, oh, it's the same as getting like an x-ray once a year. No, it's not, because glass will actually block all radioactive ions coming through with H3, which is H3 is tritium. Sorry, hop off the Geeky Nerd platform there. You can adjust the top here, and you're probably wondering, well, what's that for? Well, if you are in a let's say a lit environment, and you need to be able to see into a darker environment, that triangle can blow out color-wise and just kind of obscure your target. So you might have to adjust it down to lessen the brightness, or completely close it off to get that etched optic shining through, instead of having the fiber optic blow out your reticle. But usually 95% of the time, I just leave it open. Looking through the glass here, you can see, I don't know if I can get it just right. I'm going to try to get you guys a close-up here. It is not a dot, it is a triangle, let's say. If the camera will pick it up. There we go. There we go. You see that triangle post there? It does have those lines that go straight up, and it is illuminated green. Yeah, there you can even see it better. You can adjust the brightness. You can see in the studio lights, with it being full brightness, we can adjust it down to where you can see it gets progressively dimmer. You see that kind of transition phase where the top is fully closed, and then you're just seeing just the tritium. There we go. As soon as you adjust it up, you can see it does get brighter and brighter. Here, let me turn off the studio lights and give you guys an example. A little bit better. That way the light isn't interfering as much. There we go. You can see with the still lights there, it definitely does get a bit. But with just tritium, we'll fully close it off. You can see it's fully closed off. That's what you're going to get, just standard ambient light. Now, one thing to talk about this optic as well is that actual little triangle is hand painted. That's also why this particular optic itself, or this reticle style, I should say, costs a bit more than the other ones, just a slight bit, because it does require hand painting of that little triangle in order to get that just perfect, to where the other ones kind of can be stamped out this way. Sorry about that, guys, before I was so rudely interrupted. Apparently SD cards fill up. But again, where I was saying that these little triangles are hand painted, so just one little nice touch, little nice feature of these. Let's turn the studio lights back off because it looks a little dim and gloomy. Overall, I would say this optic is, by and large, one of the best that you could get for the money. You're not really going to find anything better than this for the features that it offers. The main core selling point is the fact that it has no batteries. You do have insane red dots now to where they get 50,000, 100,000 hours on a single coin cell 2032 battery, and that's just insane, and that's great. But they do have electronics in it. Electronics eventually will fail, and electronics tend not to age the best. Coming from my profession, I can tell you, they don't age the best. And having something like this, while tritium does have a half-life, or at least in this case, for 10 years, in 10 years it will be half as bright, and you can get it replaced, but you'll still have the etched glass, and you still have that fiber optic. So it's just something to consider. Now, is your electronic holosum probably going to last 10 years? Probably so. I mean, depending on how you take care of it, yeah, probably shouldn't have any issues. But I just like the bit more solid. It's hard to explain. I really enjoy the more solid feel of this optic and everything that it offers. Sorry, I'm getting tongue tied. I can't find the words exactly. One final thing I just wanted to say is that with this optic here, you can see the I call it the shadow box. It might not be the correct term, but basically from where the glass edge meets to where the black circle is. That's one thing about the Trijicon TR25 that I did not like. One is that it shows bigger on here, but in person, when you look through this optic, the edge is very fine. You barely notice the difference between the glass to the edge of the optic. It doesn't appear that thick. With the Trijicon TR24, though, it is noticeably thicker, and I had the fortunate enough to be in my local gun shop and be able to see both of these side by side. And it was pretty much double or triple the thickness on the Trijicon TR24. Obviously, being unless they're a bit cheaper optic, you're going to expect a bit lesser, or less features in there. And that's just one thing that I noticed. Also, the glass, I would say, is just a hair clearer on the Trijicon TR25. One thing I am still kind of torn on is this dial. It is nice to have, but I do like how they just kind of put the band over top, but this should give you more light collecting than just that top band. Also, you are able to adjust it, which is nice. And of course, you have the 1 to 6. So some people say, 1 to 4 is all I need. But I like the option of having that extra little bit of power, depending on if I have to make them farther shots. Now, if you are using this for mainly, well, let me rephrase it. This optic is not made for like a long, this particular one is not made for long distance shooting. You can use the very tip of the triangle to get precision shots at distance, and you can kind of use the general body of the triangle to kind of gauge distance depending on target. But with this, having that triangle, you're essentially getting a 52 MOA ring like you would with like an EOTech up close. You're getting that big, fat, easily identifiable dot. To where the other ones, you don't see the tritium as much, like with the German crosshair, which is the variation they call it, German crosshair. You do see the tritium dot is very small, though, so it's kind of like, what's the point of it at that point? That's kind of why I also went with the triangle reticle. But with this, I mean, at the 1 power, you are getting that nice big bold line with that green tip, and you can easily identify it at 1 power. It is true 1 power, as I can see. The parallax is very low with that as well, so you don't really notice too much of a shift. Obviously, I'm shifting around here, but you don't notice too much of that. And would I get the TR24? Yes, I would, to save about $200 because they're about $800 versus $1,000, or $1,000 on the regular average and $800 on the regular. But if you have an extra $200, I'd say go to this. You get more magnification, you get better build quality, you get that. The biggest part for me that really decided though was that shadow box, to where like how fat the outer ring of the optic looked when you were when it was just real close to your eye. So with that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider liking, commenting, and or subscribing. And if you have any kind of questions, put them down in the comments. I'd be happy to answer them. And I hope everyone's having a wonderful, awesome, fantastic day. I'll catch you guys next time. See you guys.